What's up, you guys? It is Levi here. Alright, so about 2 months ago, as of the recording of this video, I had a video talking about the dangers of QR codes. And in that video, I warn you all to be careful what QR codes you scan out there. Well, here we are, ironically, 2 months away from that video, and the federal government of the United States comes out with a public service announcement about QR codes. Cyber criminals tampering with QR codes to steal victim funds. Alright, so I knew QR codes could be used for bad things, and it didn't take very long for a major scam to come out that warranted a public service announcement from the federal government. So in this video, I'm going to talk about what exactly this scam is and how you all can protect yourselves so that you don't get your hard-earned money shredded up like this money that I got shredded up from the Kansas City Federal Reserve. Alright, so as most of you know out there, QR codes look like this. And businesses have ramped up using them during COVID because there's less risk of contracting COVID from a QR code because they are contactless. One of the common areas that they have popped up seemingly all over the place ever since COVID is restaurants. Restaurant menus. Like this menu that you see here. They're also getting used a lot more to make payments. Like paying a bill at a restaurant, lately I've seen more receipts having the option so that you can pay the actual bill scanning that receipt other than having to put your card out there and waiting for the waiter or waitress to come and get that bill, get your card, and then bring it back to you. I've also seen examples where people can use them on ATMs, Bitcoin ATMs, to transfer Bitcoins into their wallet via a QR code. And just recently, this last weekend when I was at the Creighton game where they absolutely got demolished, I saw a QR code in the middle of the big screen that had some type of donation that you could scan that QR code from the big screen in the middle and donate to that donation. So you could say they're being used all over the place now. Well, unfortunately, with all these good and convenient uses and any technology out there, there's always someone that's going to do evil. There isn't a single piece of technology that doesn't get abused in some sort of fashion. And if you've watched this channel, or if you keep watching this channel, you're constantly going to see this trend over and over again with various types of technologies. There's no technology out there that hasn't had someone out there that's tried to abuse it. And QR codes are no different. The bad hackers, or what we like to call the pirates, on this channel are going and tampering with QR codes and replacing good QR codes with their own scam QR codes. And because humans don't have that eye out there to be able to read QR codes themselves, it can be very, very difficult for a human to detect these scam QR codes. Alright, so there's two variations of these scam QR codes that pirates generally use. The first one is when a person goes to scan a legit looking QR code and then the pirates tamper QR code redirects that person to a site that makes them put in their login info to get to financial information about themselves. And the site is a malicious site. Once that victim goes to sign into that site, the pirate has their username and password and can gather all that financial info from that person and steal that info and use it to trade money away from the victim to the pirate. So that's the first variation of the scam. Apparently I don't know how to count with my fingers. Alright, the second variation of the scam, see, I can't actually count to 2 on my fingers. The pirate goes and messes with a legit QR code and tampers with it, and then a person is tricked into using that QR code to make a payment to an organization, and instead of making a payment to the organization they think that payment is for, because that QR code is tampered with, that payment goes to the pirate. Alright, so those are the what of what this scam is involved in. Yeah, I guess that's double repeating myself. What? So now we're going to talk about how you all can protect yourselves from falling for this scam. And I'm going to show you all the federal government tips that they gave in that public service announcement, as well as add my own little 2 cents at the end of those. Alright, so the first federal government tip in that public service announcement, and I'll post a link to that service announcement down below in the description if you want to read through that whole thing. Once you scan a QR code, check the URL to make sure it is the intended site and looks authentic. A malicious domain name may be similar to the intended URL, but with typos or a misplaced letter. Alright, so the default apps on the iPhones and the Android phones have the capability so when you go and scan a QR code, it shows you the link of the site the QR code is going to before it actually goes to the site. And here's an example of what it looks like on an Android. You can see this QR code goes to smashthatlikebutton.com. Which is what you all should be doing, is smashing that like button for the YouTube algorithm. And as you can see, somehow magically the subscribe button got in the background of this QR code. So you should probably subscribe to this channel as well if you haven't already. Alright, all kidding aside, this address goes to smashthatlikebutton.com. If you were looking at this address and you're like, yeah, that seems like the website I want to go to, you would go ahead and click open in browser and be on with your normal daily business. But if you look at this link and you assess it and you don't recognize where the link is actually going, or you see smash the like button has a misspelling in it, like let's say the S is switched around with the M and it's actually missedthelikebutton.com, yeah, you probably don't want to continue on and you would just click cancel here. So always make sure that you're checking the link that you're going to when you scan a QR code before actually going and opening up the link in the browser. Alright, the next tip from the federal government. Practice caution when entering login, personal or financial information from a site navigated to from a QR code. Alright, so my best advice here is to avoid using QR codes for payment whenever possible, especially for QR codes that are in public places that can be easily manipulated by a pirate. Arg! You know, such as a QR code that's on an ATM. A pirate can just go up there, put their QR code on top of that, and you would never know about it. The same thing like on a restaurant table. If the QR code is actually affixed to that table and it represents people at that table, don't use that QR code. Request a check from the waiter and pay the waiter with a credit card in that situation. Now, in scenarios where the person that is giving you the bill comes directly to you with that bill and it has a QR code, then in that case it's probably okay. So like if you're at a restaurant and the server goes and brings you the restaurant bill, at that point, you know the server printed it off. It's probably more than likely safe and you're safe to go ahead and pay your bill on there. But don't go and pay bills for QR codes that are in public places where it's easy for any pirate to go and manipulate it and put a fake QR code on top of it. Alright, the next federal government tip: if scanning a physical QR code, ensure the code has not been tampered with, such as with a sticker placed on top of the original code. Alright, so my best advice here is, with physical QR codes, go and rub your finger across it before you ever scan a physical QR code to see if you could feel another QR code behind it. And not only that, if the pirate happens to make a mistake, look and see if there's any other stickers sticking out below a physical QR code. If you see that, it's a huge red flag that that QR code could be a scam. All right, the next tip from the federal government: do not download an app from a QR code. Use your phone's app store for a safer download. All right, and this is just good advice for any device that you're using, whether it's Android, iPhone. Never ever download an app clicking a QR code. Just go ahead and go to the app store and type in the app that you need. You do not need to go and scan a QR code to download an app. You're not that lazy. If you go ahead and type the app in manually, you're going to guarantee that you're going to get that app. With a QR code, you can end up getting any type of app. Go download the app yourself in the store. Don't scan a QR code to download apps. All right, the next tip from the federal government: if you receive an email stating a payment failed from a company you recently made a purchase with, and the company states you can only complete the payment through a QR code, call the company to verify. Locate the company's phone number through a trusted site rather than a number provided in the email. All right, so for me, if you ever get an email like this that says, "You are late at paying a bill, we didn't get your payment, and you have to pay through a QR code," this is a giant red flag. I don't know of very many organizations that only allow you to pay with a QR code. Now, if I'm wrong, if you guys have organizations where that's the only way that you're allowed to pay, comment down below. But I'd be surprised if there's any organizations that that's the only way to pay. So one, you should automatically see this as a red flag, and two, probably just ignore the email. If you're really worried and you do know the organization that's contacting you, you can try to pick up the phone through their actual number that you verified, like on Google or something, but otherwise just delete the email and move on with your life. All right, the next tip from the federal government: do not download a QR code scanner app. This increases your risk of downloading malware onto your device. Most phones have a built-in scanner through the camera app. I totally agree with this, and this goes for any of the default apps that are on your phone. If your phone has an app, do not download a third-party app that does the same thing. You're just putting yourself at more risk when you don't need that risk in the first place. I can't see any advantages to downloading a third-party QR code scanner when the iPhones and the Androids have their own QR code scanning functionality built into them. So just don't do it. Don't download QR code scanner apps. All right, the next tip from the federal government: if you receive a QR code that you believe to be from someone you know, reach out to them through a known number or address to verify that code is from them. This is probably a major red flag. If you're not expecting this QR code from that person, more than likely it is probably a scam. Or if you're not expecting it, just ignore it. That's another option. 99% of the time when you're getting a QR code that you're not expecting from someone you know, it is probably a scam. All right, the next federal government tip: avoid making payments through a site navigated to from a QR code. Instead, manually enter a known and trusted URL to complete the payment. Yeah, ideally, if you don't need to use a QR code to pay, don't use a QR code to pay. If you have the option to go and manually type in the website to pay, go ahead and do that. Or, do it the old school way and just use your credit card manually. But like I talked about before, if a QR code isn't in a publicly available place for a pirate to go and tamper with it, you're probably safe to go ahead and scan that QR code. Like the example when a waiter or waitress brings you the receipt for your restaurant bill. They brought that directly to you. The scammer or the pirate is not going to be able to change that very easily unless they hack the entire system. So you're probably safe to pay that bill using the QR code. All right, finally, the last piece of advice that the FBI has for victims: if you believe you have been a victim of stolen funds, from a tampered QR code, report the fraud to your local FBI field office at fbi.gov/contact us/field offices. The FBI also encourages victims to report fraudulent or suspicious activities to the FBI Internet Crime Complaint Center at www.ic3.gov. Alright, so that's the FBI advice. My personal advice is to just avoid using QR codes whenever possible, except in situations where you know that it would be very, very difficult for a pirate to modify that QR code, like situations where QR codes aren't in a public place, such as when a restaurant waitress or waiter brings you the bill to your table. You know they printed that off, and it would be very difficult for a pirate to be able to modify that QR code on that bill. Alright, so I hope you all learned from this story, and I hope you all learned from the tips that the FBI provided and my additional add-ons so that you can protect yourselves from these QR code scams that are going on out there and not falling for scam QR codes. If you haven't already, make sure that you're smashing that like button, hitting the subscribe button, and hitting that notification bell, and sharing this video with anyone that you think could benefit from this video, as all of these actions help promote the cybersecurity education channel to more people, and the more people that can see this channel, the more people can learn to protect themselves from the threat out there in the world, which is what my goal of this channel is. Anyway, I thank you all so much for watching, and have a fantastic day.